Okay, welcome back to Starbase 11 for part B of episode 2, which now has a title thanks to the
Ooh, I
really
was wondering about that.
interesting play that our two main characters, Korsakov and Ensign Yang, got up to in part A, and their
Oh
cast
no,
of
what did we
of,
do?
of supporting characters. And so the title is now Court of Opinion.
Ooh.
So I think we can see instantly how that applies to both characters across the board. All right.
I'm so tempted to make you cry and say, I don't get it. Just
I
out
would
of
just
sheer sadism.
I would just give you the look.
Yeah.
All right. For those people who don't watch the videos but just listen to them, and when they hear the commercials come up, they turn away. There is a joke, which I think is a hilarious joke at the end of part A of the actual play. So if you made it through all the way to the very end, you heard the hilarious joke, and I hope you enjoyed it. But otherwise, if you didn't hear it, then you're dead to me in a non-serious way. All right. In our last session, the Avicenna arrived at Starbase 11, which, as we can see from what's behind me, is a small lunar type body orbiting a large ringed planet. It's a pretty fascinating place, and it is the home base of the mission profile that the Avicenna is a part of, the aid and relief mission. So the Avicenna has been requested to report back to Starbase 11 for its R&R after a grueling relief mission that
If you call
lasted.
R&R getting interrogated, criticized, you know,
And it's interesting that most of the crew will just be on R&R, but some of the crew have have work to do or have
yeah, the
duties
ones
to
with
perform.
first names have work to do. Yes.
Right. So, in the last episode, we had Korsakov and Embuto reporting directly to Commodore Stone, who is the commander or the commandant, however we want to refer to it, of Starbase 11, but also has the duty of being responsible for the administration side of the aid and relief mission profile. So, is the de facto commanding officer of that particular flotilla. So, Korsakov and Embuto had to report to him because they have been drawn up for offering testimony in a trial to assess the fitness for duty of former captain of the Avicenna, Stian Anders. Ensign Yang had a political opportunity to offer training to a bunch of highly motivated, success and goal oriented cadets. He performed his duty problematically. Incidentally, Casey happened to make a role which I still feel is impossible. But the shock and
It's a
awe has not
tough
quite.
job. You gave him a tough task there. Not easy.
He earned that difficulty. But,
On 4 dice.
yeah. So the the situation facing Ensign Yang now is that, politically speaking, his politically powerful parents are also on Starbase 11 because a meeting between the Gorn and the Federation is taking place there. Starbase 11 being in our imagined setting, being very near the frontier of the Federation. And his brother, who disappeared during the pilot episode, has been returned to Federation space, and
Right.
they have briefly met with some tension. Korsakov has had his prosthetic limb checked out and replaced for a more personally functional limb. and is waiting to be called up for testimony. And our final scene of the preceding session was outside of the court, an accidental meeting between Stian Anders and his legal team and Imbuto and his legal advisor, where we see that for all intents and purposes, Stian Anders does not seem to be the crazed lunatic that he was reported to be when he was relieved of command by acting Captain Tillich.
Thus reassuring us all, certainly.
You're watching Channel 3, SF TV. And so, reassured, we find ourselves deep in the bowels of Starbase 11's medical department, where Lieutenant Korsakov is just finishing the physical trials. He's on his back, on a table, pushing things into the wall, while the heart rate monitor is going, and the Starfleet surgeon is monitoring the different stresses on his biological leg versus his new prosthetic. While this is happening, there is a nurse who's probing psychological questions. And that's where we fade in. In the background, running, is the library officer.
Oh.
Tomlinson.
And
when you say running, do you mean like treadmill?
Yeah.
Okay.
And hooked up to a physical stress machine, which has all these different lights blinking, and different responses need to be entered while under these adverse conditions, is Ensign Buba, the weapons specialist. Right, so we have some different options for Casey to take on. And while you're talking about it, I will once again rescue the dog that's barking.
Tomlinson or Buba?
I know what I'm going to ask both of them from my little bed in just a moment.
Have you decided?
Have I decided what?
Has Casey decided who he will?
I think I will take Tomlinson.
Okay.
Just in case I have to make a very educated answers.
All right. So as we, fade out of the commercial, excellent Dodge commercial, by the way. The nurse, who's got almost silvery, platinum hair in a gravity-defying do, is checking off on her very, high-tech clipboard device with her electronic pen. She's saying, could you please describe your relationship with Captain Anders?
And my question to her is that something my leg does? Are you here? I thought we were working on my leg.
I find that these psychological evaluations are more effective when the patient can focus on doing physical activities to free their mind.
It says, well, let's see. I'll free it up a little bit more then, and I'll concentrate on pushing into the wall. And before she has a chance to ask her next question, hopefully I've set her back a little bit, then I'll call out to my fellow crewmen over there, and I'll say, hey, Tomlinson, which one are you? Rest, recreation, or recuperation?
She snaps out, Lieutenant Korsakov, These evaluations are not something to be taken lightly. If you are sensitive about the answers, they can be conducted in private.
He says, no, I'm not sensitive at all. And says, I think I've freed it up a little bit. Ask away.
The question still stands. Have you forgotten?
Uh, it must have slipped away in all the freedom.
Ah. Well then, I'll repeat. And she makes a note in that way that people make.
Oh, yeah. Stubborn, resistant. Yeah, good. I'm liking this. Go ahead.
How would you describe your relationship to Captain Anders?
Our relationship was born out of many dangers. And we came to, I learned a great deal from him. He was under a great deal of pressure at all times. My relationship became a matter of support. I learned my relationship with him was that he relied very heavily on the support of his crew because of unpredictable situations.
How would you
I
describe
hope that
Please continue.
my biggest hope was to be worthy of that trust that he put in us.
She's, very quickly making notes. How would you describe your reaction to the news that Commander Tillich, the chief medical officer, would be assuming command of the Avicenna?
At the time, and at this point, I'll actually, this is physical therapy. Okay, this is not, this is not fun. So that's, this is not next generation new leg. Thank you very much. So, so with a, a little bit of indication that, someone's working here, I think all of us were surprised and worried. There are very few, to my knowledge, there is only one Vulcan of command grade in a bridge officer capacity in all of Starfleet. To have an emergency ship with unpredictable circumstances, have a Vulcan assume that position. We all knew it was a new situation. Our relationship changed in the field, however. Commander Tillich admirably set an example of acceptance and mutual reliance among all of us, and I think has showed striking resilience in the field. We haven't had many. We've only had one or two serious missions in this regard. But that's so. Yes, I would say at first. You asked how I felt initially. I'll tell you. We were worried, and knew we were in a new situation.
Thank you. Would you say that example of unity that you have described was lacking under Captain Anders' command?
Well, circumstances were different. The crew is entirely human under Anders.
Other than your chief medical officer.
Right, and well, Tillich had joined us, but he was very much in a non-command. He was the chief medical officer, but until the circumstances. By the way, Anthony, what's the name of the planet where it all went down?
The original "It All Went Down"?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Make it up.
Okay.
I can make it up if you don't want to make it up.
Yeah, well, you go ahead and make it up.
All right.
I'll just come up with another element name, and we can't do that too much.
In the back of my mind, I've been thinking of it as a planet in the Triton system, like Triton 8.
Okay. So until Triton 8, Telek had exerted none of his privileges, as a bridge officer. He had focused strictly on his medical responsibilities. So the idea, we had come to trust him as a medical professional, but knew nothing of his capacity for interaction and command level judgment. So until that point, with a Vulcan set in acting command and the appearance of the new medical officer who had been temporarily assigned to us to become our new major medical officer, being Andorran, all of this was a new situation. Under Captain Anders, interspecies tolerance or acceptance even was not highlighted, we were not aware of it as an issue. Commander Telek showed us a different kind of cooperation. It was less about Earth and human loyalty and more about the mission of the ship, regardless of who's on it. Frankly, ma'am, I don't think I'd ever encountered that viewpoint before, Commander Telek.
She makes notes. Her face is professionally blank. There's warmth in her eyes, right. But she's not reacting.
Yeah, so that's and I'll say, excuse me a moment, and because I'm indicating to the doctor, I have to rest. I have to. That cannot go on. This is hard. I mean, this is a new thing. I mean, it's not.
And so they've recently worked on new skin grafts. It has become apparent that Jim doesn't care about scars.
Right. Exactly. So all right. So fair enough. So anyway, yeah, I'm ready to keep going with the questions, but I have to rest physically for a moment.
So during that moment, she steps away, and with a nod to Korsakov, she says, "I would just like to verify those last points that you've heard your lieutenant making. How would you describe?" And she looks at Tomlinson. How would you describe the sense of life aboard the Avicenna between the two captains?
Well, I'm Tomlinson, being the ensign on the databank's library of the Avicenna. He would just say that, things may have been different on the command level, on the bridge crew, but on the ground staff, we've only had a real influx of new non-human crew members after Telek assumed command. And it was through Telek's example that he said that we are working things out, and I think things are going in a very good direction for the crew. But Telek is bringing in something new to the Avicenna, and whereas Anders is representing something of the old, the old ways of how Starfleet does things. So there is definitely some tensions or some imbalance between the old crew and the new crew. But I think with Telek on board and taking command, we are making the transition much easier than we thought we would.
All right, thank you. She sees that Korsakov is finished with his discourse with the doctor. She nods in a friendly way to Buba, then she turns back to Korsakov and says, "It's highly unusual for a crew to be informed that their captain has been relieved of command. And further, that their captain has been relieved of command because of a sudden change of normal behavior. And the testimony of Commander Tillich is exceptional. Unusual. What was your reaction upon hearing that your captain, who had gotten you through so many dangerous missions, had been relieved and then deemed unfit for command, and in fact put into psychiatric care here on Starbase 11?
On Triton 8, I was present during the injuries and the conditions, and it is fair to, and I can testify, I believe I already have, that Captain Anders was traumatized, and if anybody dealing with him out of control of his body, under severe trauma, could understand that only professional medical assessment could say whether his state of mind after that. I think I can tell you now that and you know what, I'm going to actually try to, that the doctor indicates that I am to stand, right? So I'm going to stand, and the weight is not what I'm used to. So I'll actually, do the whole legs collapses slightly sort of thing as I'm trying to get it under me. And while he's holding my arm, and I'll say to her, I can tell you now that I think anybody who undergoes a severe trauma needs an assessment. I can tell you right now I'm fit for duty, and I'll look at the doctor and say, but I wouldn't trust myself.
The doctor just says, well, I certainly wouldn't be asking you to run to the phaser banks.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, I imagine the phaser banks over there, and I'm kind of give it a glare like I'd do it. I'd do it if I had to.
Buba's just behind there shaking his head like he had no idea what he just said.
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, Korsakov is, as a result of his conversation with Mbuto a few hours earlier.
I know. Right? God, I'm just like, there's a whole knot back there in my head right now that I'm tap dancing around. Yeah.
Right. There's stuff that's being held back, and it's this woman's job to detect when people are holding stuff
all right
back.
I'm getting my freaking dice.
I know you like dice. I just thought I would give you the opportunity.
I do
to
like dice.
It.
I just don't like it when they arrive, grinning. Hi, here we are. Remember us?
Yeah. All right. I'll get all this junk out of the way. This will be an opposed roll. Right. Korsakov's trying to hide something, and she's trying to, or not hide something, but anyway, not say something. And she's, of course, she's not a mind reader or anything. She's not using telepathy.
I completely get it. This is a professional interaction.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what I feared.
So the difficulty of an opposed task is 1, and you're trying to get more successes than the other person. Mm-hmm. And I am going to spend a point of threat because it's...
No, there's a danger here, all right. I get it.
A threatening situation.
Certainly control seems to be involved. And then after that, it's kind of an interesting question. I don't know what discipline you think is involved here.
I'm going to go with presence.
Wait. Okay. Those are attributes.
Yeah. Presence and dealing with psychology, dealing with people, managing the situation is a command task.
Okay.
So presence and command. And
Well, that's not so bad.
I don't know how you feel about cautious, if you're going to use some of your momentum to.
I definitely think that
That's an
that the
interesting point.
cautious in relationship to command is absolutely called for in this regard. I'm also thinking
So
of
you're
a
gonna
focus or two that may or may not be necessary. Either medical well, that's infectious disease, so that's not going to count. Okay, so
so that
you're
means
just gonna
you
go
get
with the
to
2 dice.
spend momentum.
well, I'm trying to think
Cautious?
about should I grab a die with momentum?
I mean,
Sure,
if you
why
want
not?
cautious, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
sure
Okay,
enough.
so
There
I'm
we go.
going to move that down. There are now 3 left in the bank.
That's
Of course,
Right.
what Casey and I have learned the hard way is that yes, more dice increase your successes, but they are also little complication makers, right?
Yeah.
They make babies, and those babies are called complications.
All right,
So,
here we go. 3 dice versus 3 dice.
oh, rock and roll. I am rather pleased with my result.
You
They
can
are
reroll.
well. I am pleased with my result. I have 3 successes.
Oh, good.
None
All
of
right.
yes, none of which, however, are itsy bitsy. So
Okay.
they are 3 vanilla successes, and I am happy with that. Believe me.
Okay.
I think that's the first time my dice gravitate toward 18, 19s, and 20s.
So, you'll see what my role was when you watch the actual play. I'll put it in there. But for now, I'll just say that her line of questions continues for a while. Some standard questions that are always asked about
Mm-hmm.
space and serving in space.
Yeah, yeah.
And she comes back to Captain Andrews every once in a while, or comes back to Captain Tillich. And the last question I'm going to end with, after a barrage of questions and different physical tests with the leg,
Right.
is who would you say is your most trusted, or the person with whom you have the strongest relationship aboard?
I am going to visibly hesitate because before recently I would have instantly said Embuto. Instantly. After that last conversation, so it's almost like,
And she's
and then
taking
I'll
notes.
say, right, I know, she caught me on that one, and I'll say Anya Smith.
The communications officer, like she's
Yes.
checking a list. Right? The
Yes.
communications
Mhm.
Interesting. Could you tell me one? And she knows the room is full of people.
Right,
Just
right.
one detail you think most people would agree on about Lieutenant Smith.
That she takes responsibility for situations that she's thrown into. All of a sudden, she has the con. All of a sudden, she's talking to who knows people who have never encountered us before, or people who have agendas and problems of their own, or authorities who are not in the field with us. And then he'll narrow his eyes, and here it is. This is the value statement. She's no phony.
Right on. And she's that impacts on her
Mm-hmm.
as a sensitive reader of people, and she looks over for confirmation, in the direction of Tomlinson, who's still, doing his test, and Booba, who's still doing his test, and to see if they agree with what has been said.
And both of them give absolute agreement.
Right. So then she actually asks
in
her
the
last
in the
question.
sense of don't get on Anya's bad side.
Yeah, we love Anya.
Yeah.
Right. So then she asks her real last question, right? Having set you up, this is my last question, right? She asks her real last question. Is that a quality you appreciate because you see it in yourself, or because it's lacking in yourself?
nobody can do everything they want the way they want it.
Thank you for your time, Lieutenant Korsakov. And she, touches her massive hairdo and nods to the doctor, and out she goes.
Oh, and I really, really hope that this show isn't so horrifyingly objectifying that we get to watch her go.
No, we don't get to watch her go. The camera doesn't
All
pan.
Right. Just checking. UFO came out in the same year, Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen that, KC, but this swaying ass shots in UFO is practically a drinking game. So, yeah.
Be the 70s you want to be, not the 70s you were forced to live through.
Right.
All right. Okay. So, eventually, Korsakov is released from, from the medical department and is able to go about his own business. But we're going to tune in on Ensign Yang. Right. Now, this situation is a bar.
Wow.
This is a bar in the base of that building right there. You may recall that your family is staying in the penthouse. The bar is called Jericho.
Ooh.
And it's brighter, maybe, than a real bar on a planet would be. But this is a starbase on a mostly airless moon, right? So there's a certain industrial edge to everything, the Durasteel walls for safety. It's not like they can make it look like woodwork or anything that's comforting. So it you could close your eyes and feel like you were on a ship, which for some people might be
is better. Yeah, they prefer it. Yeah.
Might be comforting. So, but there's a bar along one side, and there's a variety of people, both civilians and Starfleet officers, off-duty Starfleet officers who are meeting people here. This seems to be like the place you go to meet people. And the space traffic controller for Starbase 11 has requested that Ensign Yang meet him here. So he's a lieutenant commander.
Yeah, that's a request for you.
Wow. A bar, though.
At a bar. Right.
I think a lot of business probably gets conducted in this and similar bars. I bet a lot of relations are clarified, relative to some upcoming meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
If military and academic history on my part is any indication.
Yep. Yeah. This is where the real stuff happens. Now, who, out of all the options, would Ensign Yang bring with him for support? Because the context of the request is after the disastrous training mission of several hours before.
Disastrous?
I guess you would knock a few drinks with Anya.
Okay.
After, since she was...
Yeah, she was there, right?
Yeah, she was
there,
the partner in crime. Mm-hmm. Let's add Jane Finch as well.
All right.
Ooh, both of the battle bitches. Fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
Jane Finch, who has stepped away from the command track. Jane Finch, whose career is over. Jane Finch, who's going to be mustering out in a few weeks. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you've got the Naginata and the battle axe at your side.
I wouldn't even mind Parker in as well, since there was that.
So Ensign Yang's going to show up with 3 women.
I was going to say, what is this, a harem? I call it on that one. You don't get them all. Right.
We need them. I was just making a reflection the other day that for some reason, the Avicenna crew seems to be more proportionate to women than men, at least on the bridge deck.
Once
Yeah, I
again,
think we're about half and
rectifying
half at this point. Yeah.
once again rectifying the sins of a youth over which we had no control. Right. So, Ron, you have a panoply of options to portray.
It's even though I just the artistic decision is to go with the character that I just named, right? As Korsakov's kind of set up for a little more nuance from Anya in the next scene. I kind of miss Jane, I kind of, feel like she needs her moment in the sun before she
disappears.
right before she disappears.
Right.
But at this point, I'm just going to let you, if you would provide some characterization for Jane while we play, Anthony, that would be greatly appreciated. And I will take Anya. I need my visual.
Okay.
Need my visual. Anya looks like.
Oh, well. What does she look like? What have you been imagining all this time?
Well, that's the problem. I'm trying to keep the two women like differentiated in my mind. And I don't want to blend them by accident. Anya's whole value is that she's done it already, or words to that effect, right? And she's also a communications person who, jumps to the fore when called upon, right? So
in my mind,
yeah,
without doing things like hair color or complexion, Anya is one of those people who are small in stature, but you always notice when they're in the room, right? Their entrances and exits are noted for whatever reason. They are genuinely warm, but can be businesslike.
Right.
So she's totally able to say, "Hold, please," or one moment and switch, that kind of thing. And I see her with large and inquisitive eyes. She misses very little, if anything.
Okay. So with this in mind, I'm on it. So
now Jane Finch, on the other hand, is tall and somewhat cold in the learned military behavior, like not as a person.
She's no, I completely get it. She's had to do this, and she's done it. Right.
And you can just imagine having reached the rank of lieutenant commander and then going through this scandal with Captain Anders, and then suddenly it being announced that her career is over and she's no longer on the senior staff. She's no longer involved in command decisions. She's not being assigned to con, all these different things. She has become...
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay, I completely get that. Nobody knows how she feels about it because she ain't letting it. She is not letting that show.
So she's here because Anya didn't give her the choice.
Right. Got it. Okay. So Anya says to Jane, I'm Anya now. And it's like, there he is, sitting all alone, and he needs some protection.
Right.
So we'll join you. And are we out of uniform? Because that would be awesome.
For Anya, her duty is done.
I'm out of
she
uniform.
can be totally out of uniform.
No,
I don't know
nothing
how
low cut, but
nothing low cut,
but I am actually wearing clothes, which is amazing. So so there we go. I am going to
Joanne Parker's nickname is Tex, and there is a regional flair to her dress. Right?
Got it. Okay.
Plus, she is also kind of a hot pilot along the lines of our dear Ensign Andrew Yang, and so she's adorned with flight imagery.
Well, it is very, very clear to anyone viewing that Anya is certain that Joanne sits next to Yang. While we,
which Yang never notices. But
yeah, of course. So she right. It so happens Joanne's sitting next to you, and I'm going to gesture in hello, we're here.
Pay attention.
Not to whoever it is that makes the drinks. even if
Right.
it's a machine. I'm not sure what's going on with that. But
There's a bartender and there's wait staff. And
perfect. So the bartender has been alerted as to our presence.
so, the waitress comes over to take drink orders. And, and in that process is when, the doors slide open and the lieutenant commander, right, Paulson, comes in, and he's scanning the crowd, looking at his pad, right, scanning the crowd, and then makes out Ensign Yang, and then straightens himself, and then walks over, and Ensign Yang, you brought a contingent, and he can't help but smiling. He's not a bad guy, but he's trying to keep a serious face. I mean, all of this play of emotion is obvious, right?
Okay. Yeah, he's struck with, in my opinion, at least one, because I can control this, but in my opinion, with a triple, double, neutral cat-like stare for 2 seconds as we return to our drinks and incidental conversation among us. Right.
I just wanted to touch base with you
women.
about this afternoon. Did you want to speak privately, or?
No, this is perfect company.
Excellent. And he brings the chair over, adds to the drink order.
Okay.
And
when
then he
Yang
says,
sees Paulson calms down, Yang sort of like, all right, this isn't as serious as it looks.
Right. We can socialize about this.
He says, "Put it on my tab," and the waitress just smiles. He goes, "All right, so I threw you a nice soft pitch, and he names a mutual friend from the academy, right? Says, and the reports I'm getting, I know you are probably sensing that things didn't go so well, but the complaints list is longer than my arm about your training seminar today. And of all the people, of all the families in Starfleet you could have offended, you picked the best choices for scuttling a career." Drinks come. Cheers.
Swell. Anya, I'm going to look at Andrew and I'm going to say, this one's in your court. I'm here, but you are answering this one, not me.
Let's
But
hear
I'm
them.
ready.
Let's hear the complaints then. It's not the first time.
All right. Well, they go something like this, and the reason why I'm giving you a heads up is because I don't think any of them are fair, but you're going to have to deal with them nonetheless. These cadets have their finger on the political pulse of the Federation in a way that, you and I probably should have. I mean, I know, and then he looks around the table, then he just stops that sentence. I know the trouble you had kind of sentence. He just stops.
Well, and also, I mean, there's at least one thought balloon out there that is saying, don't put yourself in our position. Nobody else is the Avicenna. Right.
And so he shifts a little in his seat. Says, so there was a cadet. This was your third flight, right? This is Cadet Evers. She had trained extensively for rough weather descents, with a particular focus on ion and electrical discharges. You, however, had her descend during cyclonic winds. So she was unable from the get-go to demonstrate her particular specialization. She holds that against you and has filed a complaint. Now, of course, the complaint is not worded in any way like that, but
Anya
we get the
cannot
essence.
help but just that's the stupidest thing that she ever heard. She's gonna snort, into her drink. Look at her cronies. We're in crony mode, the three of us over there. Look at our cronies, and we will all like simultaneously knock one back. Right.
Lieutenant Smith, it's good that you remember this situation because you're also implicated in the complaint because she noted that her storm was the one in which Ensign Yang made his descent. So, enhancing his undeserved glory while diminishing her hard work.
I'll just make sure and let Xenon 9 know that when Cadet Evers is traversing its atmosphere, to make sure that it accords with her expectations.
Yeah, well, it couldn't happen to a nicer person, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like flipping through, scrolling through the pages, and it's like,
Yeah, I'm afraid. I mean, this Yang's going to have to make the roll on this one. I mean, maybe with our support, but the contempt for the cadets' expectations is becoming clearer. I mean, I'm sympathetic, but this is absurd. So I'm not saying.
This is a role-playing point.
Yeah.
Yang isn't really reacting so much to the complaints, but to the names.
To the names.
I like that one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm like, whoever, what, Everson, Ever something. And he's like, no, Evers.
Yeah. And this is the interplay.
Yang's making a list in his head.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got a list going here.
And this is exactly the interplay between the lieutenant commander and the ensign, right? To anyone listening, they're talking about the complaints, but there's always that moment where the name gets it. And then he finishes off with, now, if one were to have access to the Commodore's work schedule, then, and I'm not saying that anyone does, but if one were to have that sort of access, then one would be aware of a report to which is appended an evaluation which is recommending that a certain ensign be taken out of the fast track for promotion, which means completely out of the track for command consideration, meaning that a certain ensign would probably never rise higher than the rank of lieutenant during his entire career in Starfleet. So if that were true, then that certain ensign might want to pull whatever strings for whatever favors he could before leaving this starbase.
Ooh, I'm actually going to say,
and this is where Ensign Yang takes a shot.
Good plan. Well, and meanwhile, I'll say to Jane, I'll say, come on over here. I'm almost about to say, like, the air is fresher at this end of the bar. I mean, this is a huge insult to Jane. I mean, this is huge, right? And so it's like, oh, so promotion is everything we do this for, right? Sure it is. So yeah, before Jane punches him, I'm getting her. I'm saying, let's see what's over here. I'll say, like, the lamest excuse to get the two of us, out of arm's reach.
So during all of this exchange,
and only Parker's left.
During all this exchange, Joanne Parker has just been kind of like watching a lot of the social high class, subtlety or innuendo is just going over her head. She's a lot more honest than that, right? So she's just kind of like she can feel the menace, but she doesn't really understand why there's menace. So she's just concerned for Ensign Yang. So quite a few times she's reached out, to touch his hand or touch his arm or something like that. And Finch has been annoyed at the tone, the implication. But she's also a little protective of of crew.
Okay.
Right. So she might have made a decision about her own career, but it doesn't sound like that Ensign Yang is getting a decision about his own career. So a little bit of yeah, she wants to walk away.
Okay. Was wondering. All right.
So Paulson is giving all the social and physical cues that he's getting ready to leave, right? Having ruined your evening, right? I just want to give you a heads up, but he doesn't really want to be seen drinking with Ensign Yang, but he stopped by because they have
We have a
mutual
friend.
connections. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Ensign Yang sends him off in the most kindest gesture he can make as friends, with the inverted commas, and says that, checks his watch or his tricorder, that maybe it's about time that he leaves as well, because he has to go up to the penthouse.
So, if you found yourself at liberty with some time on your hands, you might want to go to the operations chief. His name is Timmons. And, get on his good side, and you may get some leverage against that report. And he excuses himself.
So we've heard. All right. Is this Timmons someone of rank in Starfleet, or is this a civilian?
He's a chief, so he's a non-commissioned officer, but in one of those essential positions, right, where you're in a lot of respect. They're in it for a whole career. And this is chief of operations for Starbase 11. So there's the Commodore, who's the commander, and then the guy who actually makes sure that the lights are on.
I was going to say. I mean, you don't want to go and. This is a fellow we all trust in order to keep breathing, for God's sake, right?
Among many other things. So this is essential personnel.
Right.
This is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yang will remember that name in particular, but I think
it's a good name to remember.
Yeah, but I think it's not something for the evening.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So no information gathering role, low-tech sensor sweep on this conversation.
Okay.
No. Because I was kind of hoping to gain a couple of points from that, but all right then.
All right, so we move on. Mm-hmm. Now, Korsakov, who was released from his medical travails, right? And Mbuto.
Can I go back to the med lab?
No. And Mbuto with the counselor, right? The legal aid representative. Legal aid is not the term I want, but anyway, the legal advisor that we saw Mbuto with earlier are in a meeting.
Oh, the three of us? Okay.
The three of you.
Okay.
Maybe in a bar?
Maybe in a bar.
No, I don't think so. This is a little more.
This
a little more formal. We don't socialize with this guy, I don't think.
This is in the counselor's office, the advisor's office. Right. And he's an older gentleman, rail thin, brilliant blue eyes,
I got him. Yeah.
Hopefully less books.
Hey guys, here's that call I was talking about, Anthony.
Right.
I need to.
Then I'm going to go to.
Mute me out, okay?
I'm going to go to Ensign Yang.
I'll rather grab. Oh, okay.
So, having learned that possibly career-scuttling piece of information, where would Ensign Yang go next? What would he do? Would he stay out drinking all night with Anya? Drown his sorrows?
No. He still has that meeting with the parents.
All right.
Yep.
You need an appointment.
Need an appointment. Interesting.
Well, it's just a matter of contacting them. But
Oh,
Can't just show up.
well, okay. I mean, there is a communicator, but I think I would just, since I'm already at the building, let's say, I will just go up to reception and tell them to contact the penthouse. Actually, since you mentioned the appointment part, tell the reception to contact the penthouse that somebody wants to see them.
Okay. And they said, and who should I say is calling?
Yeah, and he'll say Andrew.
And they will know who that is?
Yes, they will.
She, the expressions on her face are at war with the polite, friendly to all guests, complete disbelief, tired of being lied to face. Right? Right. And then she says one morning, she turns away, and you can hear her sub-vocalizing, right? So that she doesn't have to speak out loud. And then she stiffens a little bit and turns around and says, "May I see your ID?"
Oh, that Andrew.
And he hands out, I don't know, a Starfleet badge or something like that.
Yes. Would you like to go up now?
If they are in, yes, I would certainly like to go up and see them. If they would like to see me.
Okay. Elevator or lift 3, turbo lift 3.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
So the turbo lift would not open otherwise. Right, but as you approach, it just opens without any kind of overt or visible scan, lets you in, doesn't ask you where you're going, doesn't require you to hold on to the grip or state a destination. It just goes to where you're allowed to be, which is the top floor of Tower 2.
Yep.
Okay.
And Yang psychs himself up as well as sighing that he has to go through this routine again.
Right. So the turbo lift opens on a lobby. In the lobby, there is a pair of Starfleet security officers with their Starbase 11
Uniforms.
logo and variation on the uniform. And there is a functionary, at a terminal who looks up, big fake smile. Andrew, you've never seen this person before. They've got no
Exactly.
they've got no reason to greet you so warmly.
Okay, but anyways,
They're in a meeting, but they'll be very happy to talk to you. I'm just going to escort you into the dining area. Have you eaten? You look pale.
I could use a bite.
So you get whisked into. There's this huge buffet. There's ice sculptures and lots of colorful food. And help yourself. Anything you like. Don't stand on ceremony. Your brother's here somewhere.
Oh, is it? That's great.
That's great.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Yes. Well, you can just call me Edwina.
Thank you, Edwina. I'll be sure to let you know if I need anything.
All right. And she backs out of the room and closes the doors. Now the place is not soundproofed and not very far away. And Ensign Yang knows already. Andrew Yang already knows that he won't be able to pass through the doors. They just won't open, right? But he can hear through the doors that there's not a heated, but there's a passionate debate going on, most of which is in human languages, but some of which devolves into sibilants that one would imagine coming out of a reptilian mouth. And
I hope you learned something from Anya here.
And an approximation
Did it
of
already.
that language as spoken by a human in response.
Oh, wow. That's creepy.
right? So it's like the two sides of let's call it a debate. It's not an argument, right? But it is passionate, it is intense. The people believe in what they're saying, whatever it is that they're saying, right? They're switching back and forth between human languages and Gorn languages while this is going on. And the universal translator is trying to keep up. And the food is amazing.
Yeah. Well, Andrew can't taste much in these kind of situations.
Are you going to eavesdrop?
Well, how? Wow. Eavesdrops. Andrew is just going to listen in, not with any effort, just to see if he can pick up any few words. But after a short momentary, short attempt, and he gives up easily, and he thinks that he's probably better off waiting than making an effort.
Okay, so it's kind of confused, and it's broken up into different language bits. So we're going to turn this into a roll to see how well he can put together the random bits of information. Yeah. So this is an insight, and
science.
Okay, for the logic side of it, yeah. How organized a thinker is Ensign Yang. I like it. Insight and science.
Interesting. Okay.
The difficulty is 0.
Difficulty is 0. Fine. If I get momentum, I know what to do with it. Okay. So my insight and science, which is 11. So I have 1 success, which doesn't amount to any focuses.
Okay. Still, that's 1 success more than.
That's 1. Yeah, that's 1.
1 unit of momentum is in hand. All right, so they are, like I said, not arguing. They are passionate. More like they are feeling that there's certain ways to do things. There are certain inalienable rights, kind of thing, and there's a sense that maybe these have been violated. That's the tone or the tenor of the conversation. Met with kind of a self-righteous tone or a tone of justification. It's a little hard to make out through all the fangs and tongues.
The slurs.
But your parents, the practiced diplomats, are standing firmly on moral or ethical grounds, saying, this is what's right. Every civilization out there agrees that this is what's right, and we're not certain that you're dealing with us in good faith. And the Gorn contingent is responding with, you don't understand, right? we that's exactly how we treated the situation. We don't understand why you're upset. Right. Okay, that's the basic information.
That's the basic information. I have 1 momentum. I'm going to spend it with obtain information, but only in particularly to the area of how their previous batch of captives were treated.
Okay. How were the captives treated? That's exactly what it is that they're talking about. And Ambassador Yang and Ambassador Yang are extremely upset, and they are not using Joshua's name, right? But they have it on good authority. They have it on their
first-hand accounts.
Yes, right? Exactly. First-hand accounts that those who have been returned are not right. This is the exact phrase they use, which echoes a phrase that has been repeated by Mbuto, which has been repeated by Korsakov. They are not right. They do not seem right.
Regarding the captain and a few other members of the Avicenna's crew following the events on Triton 9, and considering that the members of the the ship your brother was on,
Potemkin.
The Potemkin were affected by the artifact. So sadly, the proper, sadly, the proper information that Yang desperately needs at this time is not known to him.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
But cold chill down the spine of this attentive viewer of our show.
Then there's the sound of polite ending of the conversation and the sound of heavy footsteps, right? And there's a glimpse of two Gorn leaving by another exit as your father comes sweeping into the buffet area. So the doors open for him, and you can see, your mother say, bidding the Gorn contingent farewell, and they leave by another exit.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew, you're finally here.
I would have thought you wanted me here. I didn't know you were here.
I expected you hours earlier. Joshua said that he talked to you, what was it, 6, 7, 8 hours ago. Oh, and I see you've eaten all of the caviar.
Point of interest, actually, Andrew didn't touch the caviar. It was already empty. But, some things you don't explain to your dads. So Andrew is not going to pursue the topic at hand. He is actually going to dodge the question and say, "Where is Joshua?"
Oh, you didn't? Did you two argue?
No, I didn't. But Edwina said that he was around.
Oh, so you haven't seen him here?
I haven't seen him here. Yes.
Your parents are infuriating.
So he touches a stud on a command bracelet, and Edwina instantly appears. Just bring Joshua. And she bows her way out. You look.
Jeez.
No, what's wrong?
No, nothing. Everything's.
There's something wrong.
Well, I don't know if you heard about a little incident this afternoon, but I can assure you it's not something I can handle.
You mean in terms of your career?
No, it was about shuttles.
At this point, Mom shows up. What is it about shuttles?
There was a demonstration with the cadets, and the shuttles were a little more feisty than what actually happened. But
Would you like a transfer to a ground assignment?
No, that's not the point. There was probably a malfunction. The Starbase engineers are probably looking into it. There was a risk element to the cadets at present, but like I said, not something I can't handle.
They shoot each other a look. They've been married forever, maybe longer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So which group of cadets?
You're not going to sell out the cadets to your parents, are you?
Some fresh cadets. Then he just, how do you say? He wants to make it sound as general as possible, but then he probably just mentions that one of them was a brother or sister or nephew to maybe Everest or something like that.
Right. So you're trying to you're trying to snow your parents a little bit. You want to end the conversation? Is that what you're trying to do? Or
yeah, like the names are not important, but if you really had to know, there was someone related to someone, but that was just a coincidence more than, them being there.
with intention of setting them on the hunt, or with intention of getting them to stop bothering you?
Stop bothering me.
Okay.
Let's try.
Good.
Let's try and realize this again with presence and command.
Presence and command. And since this can be taken the wrong way, let's put that with threat. Let's buy one dice with threat.
Interesting. Just a second, I have to get the dice ready. Because this is an opposed roll.
Interesting.
Okay, so you're going to buy one die with threat?
dice.
3
One die with
dice.
threat. No, I'm gonna buy 1 dice with threat, so I have 3 in total.
Okay, I see. Sorry. I got all excited for apparently no reason.
Wow.
Okay. And I did that the wrong way. I took threat away, and I'm adding threat. I'm not spending any threat for the ambassadors on this because I think they have other things on their mind.
Mm-hmm. And just as a point of interest, would this be something that Ensign Yang can apply his diplomacy focus?
Absolutely, right? What else is this but, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want something from you that, Here we go. This is an opposed roll, difficulty 1.
Difficulty 1. Interesting. Okay. Diplomacy under command. All right. So I have a total of 3 successes.
Right.
One of which is thanks to the focus, actually.
Okay.
We have no complication range.
Is normal.
It's
I have to
normal,
roll
so
my
right,
assistance die. Okay. So how many successes did you end up with? Sorry.
I still have 3.
You have 3. Very nice. Okay. Which brings us to a tie.
That's actually even better.
Interesting. At which point, Joshua shows up. But I'm going to cut away from this scene to the scene that we set up with Korsakov, right? In the lawyer's office with Embuto, if you wouldn't mind taking on Embuto.
Yeah, I'll take Embuto.
Casey. Right, so after all the preliminaries are over, the why you're here and all that stuff, because we already know. The counselor says, "Look, your testimony is important. I want you to know that it was requested, you were put on the list by Captain Anders as character witnesses. But the prosecution was just as interested in having you on that list. They have already, and this was another sealed testimony, gentlemen, your testimony is going to be sealed as well. They've already spoken earlier today with Commander Tillich and a few other members of the crew. And I just want to apologize to you, Lieutenant Korsakov, that you were not informed of these crew disbursements, but I think you'll understand, due to the sensitive nature of the topics at hand, why it was done with such secrecy. Or maybe you won't understand, but that's how it was done.
Yeah, the Korsakov and Embuto are giving each other the look of, that's a lot of secrecy going on. At least that's how I'm looking at you, Embuto. It's like, this is getting darker and weirder by the second. So
you have to understand, in the history of Starfleet, there has only been one major trial involving a Starfleet starship captain. There have been numerous competency hearings, but not one like this. Everyone, I think, would have been happier if Captain Anders had just quietly retired and gone on his way. But he has successfully filed for this competency hearing, and he has some pretty heavy psychological and medical experts on his side.
I'm getting a little lost in all of these categories, counselor. Who is prosecuting for what, and what role are we to play
Oh, sorry. It's been days and weeks of depositions and in and out of the court. Okay. Here's the thing. You will be asked to recount your logs, to verify your logs, to add color to answer questions about your logs on the stardate in question, where Commander Tillich relieved Captain Anders of command, and anything that you know pursuant to the circumstances that led to him being relieved of command. So being able to speak to his state of mind, right? The crew's reports. We assume that, not we assume, we know that as Chief of Security, you have access to security logs, and you have access to fatalities and injury reports, so you'll be able to speak to the events that happened on that stardate. And your honest reactions at the notion of having the Avicenna returned to Captain Anders. And Buto, likewise, as the ranking officer on the bridge at that time, when the captain was relieved of command, your direct witness testimony as to the captain's state of mind before and after would be appreciated, particularly as there is a conflict in the logs.
And then Buto's ears just perks up.
As you
Complications with the
gentlemen,
logs.
as you gentlemen may remember, the official report was that Captain Anders, after being retrieved from Triton, he looks at his notes, Triton 8, he never left sickbay. However, we know from witness testimony and other computer logs that he was, in fact, still in command of the Avicenna when he was relieved by Commander Tillich.
Anthony, since since we have relied on your accounts so far, which is, what are the sources of these? The log that says he never left sickbay, that is Tillich's log, is that correct?
That's Tillich's official log, yeah.
Right. Now, I need to ask you, what are my experiences? Did I know that Anders was walking around doing things when he was relieved, or was he in?
Yeah.
And also, in command is a status. It's not a location or an action.
Correct.
So what do you mean by saying in command? Was he walking around giving orders and people saying, no, sir, yes, sir? Because I don't know what backstory reality my character experienced.
The official story is the lie.
Okay, so Anders was walking around doing things when he was relieved of command.
Right.
Okay.
And we can assume, knowing Tillich, that this was carried out to protect as many members of the crew from accidental indemnity as possible.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I've made, I think, a decision that may have to be resolved by a roll, which is to say to, okay,
would you like the advisor to leave the room?
If I'm allowed.
Sure, clients confer.
Okay, I would say, give us a moment, please.
And he excuses himself, says, take as long as you need.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say, listen, I've had enough of all of these I grew up with these people. I grew up in a place like this. I've had enough. We're telling them everything. They have to deal with the artifact. They have to deal with the fact that we have something that is bringing dead people back. it's not just a tool for us to try to use anymore. Look where it's got us. Look where it's got you. We could be wrong about what we've been doing or tried to do. And I am not going to be another, I'm not going to use the same word because that's annoying. I'm not going to fake my way through this. And I'm tired of you being such a martyr. Yes, I know you got demoted and none of the rest of us were. Fine. Now it's time for us to go all the way with this. And if they don't like it, then they'll do whatever they're going to do. We cannot. We are telling this guy everything.
Ron, you have brought up the perfect combination of values.
2 of them, I believe I hit. Yes.
Yeah. And my heart is rejoicing as I offer you a potential point of determination. If you are an additional one, right? If you are willing to accept a complication on that value, meaning that this zeal that Korsakov is feeling for unburdening
if the
himself,
whole
telling
situation isn't already a complication on this value, then what the hell are we doing here? So, I mean, accept? What do you mean accept? It's sitting on my lap already. Okay.
So the complication would be, right, a compulsion to redress the specific wrongs
right
done
Hold
to
on.
Embuto.
This is the call. The other call was a cold call. This is the call.
You think about it while you're suffering.
Oh.
And we cut back to the ambassador's penthouse,
Right.
where
Just
Edwina
before that-
has just excused herself to go get Joshua.
Joshua. Just before that, maybe can be a short table talk segment since Ron's away. I'm thinking this is actually a very good opportunity for us to test out this idea of characters as threat. And it's been something I was thinking about in the last session. I'm thinking this is where we can take this further.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make Embuto the antagonist here.
It's entirely possible.
Let's build him towards it. Well, at least if I have the idea with Embuto, I think I want to build him towards that idea that he's going to be what's his name? The one in Obsession. Gary?
Finney?
Was it Finney?
The dead man?
No. The one that got his God complex.
Oh, in Obsession. Oh, Garavik.
Garavik. Yeah, let's make him the Garavik of the episode. Just an idea. We'll see where we can go with that.
I think he feels he was busted down 2 ranks, right? He feels pretty strongly about protecting others. He took all the punishment.
Yeah.
Right. He shielded everybody. Korsakov threatens to undo all of that out of some misplaced ideal that, right?
Yeah. Embuto's the one suffering for it.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
Yeah. I'll maybe bring it up with Ron maybe at the end of the session, but we can. It's something I think I'm going to, poke the mechanics and see where it takes us.
Right. Well, you just play Embuto as it makes sense to play him, and let Ron experience it. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So Joshua enters, not looking any better, not looking any more rested.
Except maybe for the caviar crumbs on his mouth.
Right. We know who ate the caviar. Right. So, and looking like he would rather be anywhere else but in a room with all of you.
Mm-hmm. And he was supposed, he's like, Joshua's here. Looks like the whole family is reunited for once.
And Mom points to Edwina and points at the buffet table, and Edwina starts going around fixing a plate for Joshua.
Mm-hmm. I just couldn't resist. Andrew makes a dig. The caviar is pretty good.
He goes, yeah.
All right, so we're all here, Father. Is there something that gets just between him and Joshua, like we should know?
Well, I just want you two to have the opportunity to connect and share confidences before you have to report back to your ships. Your mother and I worked hard to get you those assignments, and we know that you will do well in those positions and rise quickly through the ranks to demonstrate all the hard work and training that you've put in to your experiences. So.
All right, and I hope my reports, the reports I have involved so far, the 3 missions that have been on the Avicenna, hasn't disappointed you in any way. It sounds like.
Well, I think. Did you have to go into? And then there's a look from the mother, and he's in the command track, dear. And of course, there's that cold shock of maybe my time in the command track is now over because of the events of this afternoon. And that's when Edwina pops up, and I'm going to spend a point of threat. And she says, actually, I heard that Commodore Stone filed a report specifically on Andrew this afternoon. Would you like to hear it? I have exclusive access, thanks to a friend from the Academy.
Andrew tries to like dodge his eyes away from his parents, like, you make the decision.
Of course we want to hear
it. Okay. Andrew's not, Yang is not saying anything. Like, that's an order from Ambassador Yang to Edwina, not from Andrew Yang to anyone else.
Right. And so Edwina, she opens up the report on her pad, and it starts out, just her normal business-like fake face, right? Fake smile face, and then it slips, right? She's reading much faster than she's speaking, and she's just going through, the duty was and other officers assigned, and then her voice falters. And then she clearly is panicking, right, underneath this mask of fake servant. Yeah. So you can, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? Because at the bottom, she has to say, not office, maybe not officer material, right?
Let's see if I can invoke. But I don't have any determination left.
I believe that you used it to re-roll your incredibly devastating roll.
Yeah. Okay. So I think what Yang would like to do here, even though he may not have the means to do it, you know what? I'll stop Edwina, just to, when he notices the body language that I shouldn't continue. And he tries to reassure his parents, like, there was nothing to hear here. Everything seems perfectly fine.
I have
It's
a
all the same. It's all the same. Blah blah blah. But as you can see, blah 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 is better than I have something to say.
right. I have an offer for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to complicate leader among men. Now, Edwina will be punished for this report if if she's the one to reveal it to your parents, even if it's unintentional, right? She will be the one on whom they take this out. If, as a leader among men, if Yang comes forward and owns up to the report before she has to say it, he can have a point of determination.
Wasn't the value I was hoping to complicate, but I think this
I'd like to
works
hear your
just
suggestion.
as well. Responsibility to the truth, but I think I
Sure.
like
Absolutely.
I like leader. I like the way you presented that.
Yeah,
This is a conundrum between the big
double
wigs and
dipping a
the-
value is just
and the-
not double dipping,
and
but
the small
tweening
innocent
values is
bystanders.
perfectly okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
No,
you're
I
going to
think
go?
no,
Go for
I'll
it?
complicate. No, I'll take your complication, but I think I will complicate a leader among men, as you say. So I
Okay.
cross that off.
It's just complicated.
Unused.
You get a point of determination, and you need to do the thing.
Yeah, and I will do the thing, and
So you're now
I'm
experiencing the wrath of the parental units.
Been there. Right.
Which means
this one's gonna be a bit more devastating than the last.
there is a real risk, unless they can be stopped in some way, that they will get involved in your career, and that could make things worse either for you, or it could expend political capital that they need to do more important things. So that's the storm that complication puts Yang in. Can he stop his parents from helping
Freaking
him?
interfering.
Yeah. Helping him. Make sense?
Yeah. That totally works in Yang's arc.
So, how would you stop your parents? What would you say to them? I shoot my parents.
So the truth is out, to say, right?
The truth is out. Yeah.
Truth is out, right? Right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
But Andrew revealed it, sparing Edwina.
Edwina. Okay. And Andrew is just going to have to say this is a minor setback. A lot of things could have gone a lot worse. You know.
Nobody
died. You probably could have been just Joshua here. I could have make it back from the infectious plague.
Oh, I don't know. I think your parents need a stronger lesson than this. Here they are. They're trying to run your life. They're trying to pick on this poor functionary who's done nothing but her job, and they're trying to push you around. I mean, they let them have it.
Well, I'm trying to stop them at this point. Yeah.
That's right. There's only one way. They're never going to stop unless you lay it down. That's what I think. But
well, Yang's not that cool, I would think.
That's right.
It's an Asian thing, maybe.
His prep school upbringing.
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah. I just have to find a way to word this for Yang. Yeah, it's a minor setback. A Commodore's report is a Commodore's report. He's entitled to make his recommendations. That just means that I have to prove myself on the field rather than in the political structure.
But dear, you've already been proving yourself, and we know Commodore Stone very well. We are the ones that pushed for him to be the commanding officer.
And he is entitled in his position to make.
I'm sure he just doesn't really understand. Someone must have misreported the details.
I can assure you, well, if you speak to anyone in Avicenna, I've done what I'm supposed to do. The reports can come from anywhere, and I can tell you with some certainty that it's not from anyone in the Avicenna. So that's not within the Avicenna's control. And maybe Stone is listening to someone else, but that's his judgment call.
You can't have a mark like this on your record.
Oh, that's okay. The rest of us have lots. He can have one.
Well, it would. And he starts recalling
Marks on our record is sort of
he starts recalling that incident in the cafeteria. And he's going to put this in a more cunning way to the parents. Like, it would look odd if it was too clean anyways. It's better to have something small like this early on in the career and overcome it than rather have a stain to figure out at the end.
All right, so you want Dad in particular to buy into this, let me handle it on my own. I've got things
and
moving.
I know what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
One little mark. Come on.
Okay.
Quit cleaning up everything.
Sell it to me. Sell it to me. Give it to me. Presence and command.
Presence and command.
And momentum.
Momentum, sure.
Or
can I use
for boldness?
Well, he's already threatening. I should have.
No,
I should have.
It's a face up. This is more face up lie than I'm telling you this.
Did you distinguish yourself as an officer of Starfleet during the mission?
I lied to my parents.
Lied through my teeth? No.
Which is interesting. I'm just thinking if there's another value I can try to poke on.
No, you can challenge value after all. Right?
Can you willingly challenge a value?
Yeah, that's part of the thing. You actually go against it and say so, right?
Right, that's not going to give him any particular advantage in this scene. That would just...
but it's fun.
That would create a moment of doubt in that value for the character and take that value out of play for
the episode. Okay, is that something I want to do? Nah, I think no. Then in that case, I would just stick with... How many do we have on the momentum pool? I believe we still have three. Three. So that's all if I empty that out. Yeah, well, do I know the difficulty?
You do. These are the people on Earth who know you best.
Best, exactly.
I was going to say, I cannot imagine no difficulty on this one.
Yeah. Difficulty 3. And I'm spending threat to increase the complication range because they're your parents and they love
my parents.
Anthony, are there issues that you want to share with anybody about this?
No, man, my parents are awesome.
See, right there, denial. I saw it.
So the complication range is
says lie.
16.
16, right. I mean, if that's the case, difficulty 3, complication 16, let's spend all the momentum.
Good man.
Of 3, that would buy me 2 more dice.
Yep.
And that will allow me to use my untapped potential.
Yeah.
Maybe I learned something from the field.
All right.
And instead of diplomacy for my focus, can I use Starfleet protocol? Like, this is still all right by the book.
Yeah. Do it. I love it.
Oh, okay. Presence and command, which is a 13. So I have 3 successes, but I also roll a 20.
That's
it was the only dice that I failed. Yeah, it's the only dice I failed, but that one had to be a 20. But that's still a good result, I think.
Oh, I think so. We don't mind complications. We call it plot.
Okay. I'm going to hang on to the complication for a second.
Yep.
So we'll do the untapped potential.
Untapped potential, yeah.
All right. So here we go. And we got an effect. So
even
I
better.
add 1 threat to the pool and
and
1
one
momentum. Okay. All right. So in total, how many successes were earned?
3, just 3.
3. Okay. As far as Ensign Yang is concerned, he has averted the disaster. The parents accept the logic. All right. The complication is that he's on a time limit. If they don't hear that he has resolved the issue fairly quickly, they are going to start asking questions. They're not going to do anything, but they're going to start asking questions.
And they're going to get involved again.
And that will raise the difficulty of any future shenanigans that Ensign Yang might get up to try and fix the problem.
And we have
Make sense?
eyeballs on you.
All right. Okay.
Okay. That was exciting. Okay, so I've added the momentum and the threat to the pool. So the momentum pool is now 1, and the threat pool is now, good Lord, what is it? 3, 6, 8. I'm a happy fellow. So we're going to end off this scene.
Oh, okay. All right.
See.
I'm going
Sorry to go back to the one that was cut. I'm cut off.
Yeah, that's right. So
I'm sorry about that. We're dealing with the health services right now. So they call, at certain times and stuff like that.
So I'm spending 2 threat. And this is something that Ensign Yang does not see because he's so involved in dealing with his parents. During the entire conflict, right, where normally Joshua would probably be having difficulty hiding his enjoyment of his brother's struggles, with a hint of empathy for having been in that situation himself, right? He's older, he's maturing, he's not
a brother.
10 anymore.
You got both things going on. I get that.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and he owes his younger brother. He knows it as much as he hates it. But that's what we would expect to see on Joshua's face. Some mixture or measure of sympathy and cruel enjoyment. However, he's got food partway to his face. His face is completely blank except for his eyes, which are just staring at Mom.
That's some threat going on there.
And we cut away from the scene, and we are back in the private conversation. We cut away after a dramatic, da-da! We got to tell the truth. You sacrificed too much. Da-da! We cut away back to the political shenanigans in the ambassador's suite, and then we're back, panning away from Mbuto's stoic face back to Korsakov's perhaps earnest one.
Okay, so this is where Mbuto makes his side of the argument?
Yeah.
I was going to say, the characters may have shifted, but Casey's still in the hot seat.
So it's over Mbuto's shoulder, right? We know this scene, so we can get the reaction shot from Korsakov, who's the guy getting paid for this scene.
It hardly seems fair. Okay, go on.
All right. So first things first, Mbuto is since Korsakov came in on, I'm sick of this, Mbuto's coming back with, I'm sick of you telling Mbuto that I'm suffering for this, like as if, it was a price that I didn't want to pay. I'm willing to go this far to take 2 ranks down so that we keep this in the wraps, unless, we couldn't. And if you're really that concerned about, my well-being and my position let me finish. If you're really concerned about my well-being and rank in Starfleet, if you don't think that's important, think about what happens to Captain Tillich if they find out. What happens if they find out the truth about the artifact? Captain Tillich may have forged his log and willing to put himself on the captain's seat for that reason. What will happen to him? And do we want Anders back on the captain's seat?
That's exactly what I'm worried about. If they don't know that he was that he's been affected by this thing, they could put him back on. You saw him. That all could be some kind of act. Who knows what's wrong with him now? Do you really want him back in command?
We both don't want him back in command.
That's right.
But we can't do that without setting up Tillich. And the artifact is the one that pins him down.
I think Tillich can probably defend himself. We can't know what's going on between those ears of his. He'll make his case. The Vulcans will back him, and there's nothing we can do to help him.
Or Buto stops. That's right. He's a Vulcan. Who is Starfleet going to choose?
Ooh, the black man is saying that too, right? Right, in 1970, right? So,
and as far as from what I'm hearing, Starfleet, the prosecution doesn't have no idea about an artifact being involved. So they're not going to go down that line of questioning.
So, player to player, KC, both characters have made a brutally effective argument in each case.
I was just
and
telling.
If I haven't made you a little nervous about Mbuto's position, I can tell you have made me nervous about Korsakov. So I think the dice are going to have to do the job now.
Twice in the session.
Yeah. So, Anthony, you may be interested to know that that through frightening role playing on Casey's part, we are torn over whether the Federation's Vulcan prejudices against Vulcans and who knows what are involved here. As well as I'm also saying that the Vulcans are going to bring in their clout to protect him. He should come ahead with who are we to second guess their wacky logic and whatever it is he did. So cool. Here's the thing. We're going to have to roll off. We're both scared of our own characters and scared of which way this is going to go. So
okay. So Casey, can you tell me the standpoint of the argument for Mbuto?
As previously say, we are not going to tell him.
I'm not going to tell him to keep it a secret.
We're not going to tell him to keep it a secret, and he's even sort of taken the argument that it's not about Mbuto anymore. This is about Tillich.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Korsakov.
And in accepting, and then the question is whether we let Tillich make his own case relative to the full truth. And Korsakov's kind of convinced that Tillich's going to tell the whole truth anyway. Just
and Mbuto is not so
making
convinced.
A case, right? Yeah. And I'm also thinking, the Vulcans are going to back him up with whatever logic, and then whether whether fear of the Vulcans or prejudice toward them is going to tell the tale is something that we're struggling over ourselves right now.
Okay. Mbuto's using the perspective that the Vulcans can make a logical argument, but it's Starfleet, a human-dominated organization, going to make an emotional decision.
Yeah. And my take is that the Vulcans are freaking clever and will, besides, they're not going to threaten. Maybe the Federation's afraid to, piss them off. I heard about that Tatao lady, right?
Okay.
Look out. So anyway, the deal here is this. I don't think either of our characters are 100% sure, and we've been listening to each other.
Right.
So now we're just going to have to figure out which one prevails.
Sure.
So, but in this case, I'm happy to spend one of my points of determination that I now have 2. So.
Okay. So, and this is, This is an opposed roll again.
Right.
Now, the victor of the roll will earn points as usual, right? So if that's Korsakov, Korsakov will earn momentum. If it's Embuto, Embuto is going to earn threat in this scene.
Right.
Because it's the riskier proposition.
Right.
Okay. Go for it. So
can I aggravate that for using buying
to buy
dice
extra,
for Embuto?
yes, of course. Yeah.
Buying extra threat, is that what you're doing, Casey?
Yep. And let's go.
I'll
all
see
in.
your threat and raise it, or meet it. I'll meet it. I'm getting just as much threat as he is.
Whoa, okay.
Oh.
That's 6 threat I'm talking about.
So
You
you're
could
both
still buy
going...
one for free with one the momentum.
Yeah, basically, we could end up scuttling Telek right out of the show by doing this. Right? Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to share the screen, and you can walk me through your expenditures, please. Okay.
Got it.
Okay, so I'll start with Embuto. What are you spending?
I will buy 3 dice with
3
6
dice.
threat.
First die, second die, third die. Thank you. And Korsakov?
Well, first I mentioned the determination, and I believe I have to be doing something with a value to do that.
Right. So do you have a value that brings this to light?
Do I have to, is this invoking a value or challenging a value?
This is invoking a value.
Invoking a value is basically this. It's, again, I'm doing it this the whole time. There's a lot of phonies around here, and I'm not one of them. To hell with all of that, right? I'm not entering this web of conflicting partial stories here. We are sandblasting the situation, and they have to cope with it, the realities, such as we are.
You feel a stronger connection to that one than to do the right thing. No excuses.
Actually, I think no. You're right. No excuses is really where it should be. Yeah.
Okay.
You're right. No excuses.
So the termination is active, and it starts you out with 2 successes.
Right. But no extra dice, just with 2 successes, correct?
Yep.
Okay. And then I was also going to add in threat.
Okay, for the other 2 dice?
Right. Well, yes.
Okay.
Is that what I...
You want 3 more dice?
How many, what's the least I could do?
You can buy 1 more die.
That was my plan, 1 more die.
Okay. And that will cost 2 threat, because the determination die counts as the first die. This raises the threat pool, as you can see, now to 12. So I have maybe never been this happy in my life. And
well, I mean, that's what you get for a nice, peaceful R&R space station family chat.
What could go wrong?
Mild court testimony. We'll just go in and say hi this, hi that, and that's that. Do our jobs.
All right.
Threatless Star Trek, exactly what everyone wants. Right?
I will stop sharing the screen. And, gentlemen, this is an opposed roll. Difficulty 1. Try and beat the other person.
I've got 3 dice,
Korsakov
correct?
is rolling 3 dice, and Embuto is rolling 5. There's no assistance in the scene whatsoever.
And this is presence and...
Presence and command.
Presence and command. Okay, 12 or less. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Presence and command. See? This is almost a repeat of last session.
Okay. I should like to invoke one of my focuses.
Which one?
And it is not the diplomacy at all.
Oh.
It is the ancient tech. I am invoking the mysterious, threatening, this is a Cthulhuoid artifact, causing trouble thing.
He's got lots of examples to back up how...
Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
Nice.
This thing does this and it does that.
Yeah.
So that means, first of all, the determination gave me 2 automatic successes, correct?
Correct.
So hitting the focus with a 3 gives me 2 more. Correct? Then on the ordinary dice, I have 2 more ordinary successes for 6 successes.
Nice. I'm going to have to share the screen just because we're never going to see this again. Probably.
Oh yeah, this is you play this game, you bulk up on the play the in the moment currency fast.
2, 3, 4, 5, because the difficulty was 1.
Oh right, okay, yes.
Now he may not get all of these because it's going, because Ambuto might win, but this is what's on the line.
Got it. Okay.
And Buto has 120. And the rest failed.
Wow.
Wow.
What do I want to do? I'm going to take threat for that. And
Please do.
right, so raising the threat pool to 14. Okay, I love it. Which means that Korsakov gains 5 momentum. They're
Do
in
they
hand.
go up off the line?
We're still in the.
Stay on the line. Right. Got it. Got it. Okay. And so can we just continue this to bringing the advisor back
Okay.
and like include him in, with the ongoing scene, bring
Okay.
the advisor back
Bring him in.
and basically laying it all down and saying,
I am going to bank these then.
okay. Because the idea being that I want to make the roll now in prep, not in the trial.
Uh-huh.
I want to nail this to the wall now.
What your testimony should be.
Yeah, what the testimony will be. This is how it's going
should
to
be, because it will. There will be a prosecutor.
Well, that's the question. How are we? Okay, continue. How are we going to do this?
Right.
Ben?
So of course you would be working out with the advisor, how to prepare for the trial, and then hopefully everything goes as planned, right? That no curveball questions are thrown or whatever.
Well, the point is that we could let 1 point of momentum decay and just keep the rest on hand because it's a nice fat bank for the showdown.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And that's okay by me, I think, rather than trying to spend, all this momentum right here and now if it's just incidental.
Right.
Doesn't, right?
You might want to take advantage of this situation to create an advantage of well-prepared.
I think that's what we want.
Right. Okay. So I will take 3 momentum out of the pool, 2 for the advantage, 1 for the decay. That will leave 3 in the pool. And Korsakov through
3 momentum and an advantage. There are worse places to be.
Yeah. So the advantage will give Korsakov a bonus under, the difficult situations of a trial.
Right. And without Mbuto, being cagey about it and messing things up with ambiguities, and the fact that we are, and I really do want to say, I see his point, but this is the risk. And when we don't know which way it's going to bounce, we're going to do the right thing.
Excellent.
Right.
I like it. And so, looking at the time once again, I'm going to close things out with one last scene for tonight. And there we see, in what looks like personal spaces somewhere on Starbase 11, standing at the window, shoulders square, arms behind back, looking out over the dark vista of Starbase 11. We have Captain Stian Anders.
God, I hate closing on this guy.
We have Lieutenant Commander Jane Finch.
Ooh.
We have several other former officers of the Avicenna. We have Joshua Yang and several.
Oh, they're all the comeback wrong people.
Several crew members of the Potemkin. Right, they're standing around. It should be a social encounter. There's a bar in the corner. There's food on the table, but people are just standing there. And the camera pans
That would be our
around.
14th threat staring right at us, staring us right in the face.
There's 14 of them in the room.
That's right. Yeah, one threat each. That's what I get that. Yeah.
Our
Precisely.
view passes through the whole room, right? So when we first see it, it looks like a party.
The social scene.
And
right.
then we notice nobody's moving. And then we see there's
Right.
no expression on faces. And we end up finally panning around Stian Anders' face, right? He's looking out the window. So we finally get to see his expression. And his face is blank, but his eyes are just blazing with intensity.
Oh my God. All right then.
And we fade to black. You're watching Channel 3, SF TV.
At the tone, your savings will be $1.33.
Sometimes a little extra time can save a lot of money, like the dollars you save going Greyhound. Sure, Greyhound takes a little longer than flying, but it costs a lot less. Next time, go Greyhound and spend extra minutes instead of extra money.
Fantastic. Well, battle lines are drawn for the showdown next time, I think. Absolutely.